Warning, the following audio transmission is based on theory and is intended for entertainment purposes only. It's Doomsday and its affiliates will not be held liable for anything your dumbass does. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome everybody to It's Doomsday Podcast. Today is June 2nd, 2024. Time is 1901. And joining me is myself. So, ladies and gentlemen, real quick before we get into the show, the email, it's doomsdaypodcast@gmail.com, should you choose to send us an email. The new current code for ReadyWise is Doom10, T-E-N, D-O-O-M 10, T-E-N. Okay, so D-O-O-M-T-E-N. All right, now that we got that out of the way, I have been hearing everybody talk about this hurricane season, and it's supposed to be like the worst one coming, and they're tracking a bunch of storms out there already. This hurricane season is supposed to be pretty wicked. If you guys get online and simply Google hurricane season for this year, you're going to see all these articles popping up pretty much from every news source, from every weather outlet. I mean, they're just everywhere, okay? And I think maybe it's time we have a little bit of conversation about hurricane preparedness and what to do, okay? So first things first, in regards to this, guys, know your evacuation zones, know your evacuation routes. Do be prepared to evacuate if you know that the storm's going to be really bad and they're calling for evacuation orders. All right, and you have to also understand for people dealing with hurricanes, there's a lot of aftermath, there's a lot of fallout. All right. So, and it's kind of a different circumstance for everybody. You could be inland, not in the direct path of the hurricane, and still lose power for a few days. And if you're someone that's, say, diabetic and maybe you're on insulin and, that's something that needs to be refrigerated for you, it's you're going to have some issues. Okay, so do understand that just because you're not coastal, you could still have some aftermath from these hurricanes as well. Not to mention, when it comes to the power situation, a lot of these areas that aren't affected by the hurricane, they deploy their power linemen out to the areas that are affected to help restore power. So your area might be short on these utility workers, and they might not be able to get power up for a few days or a few weeks, or et cetera. Gas in your area. When we had the hurricane come through Florida, we ended up not being able to get gas at certain gas stations because they were selling out of gas because of all the people moving at one time. So just some things to be aware of in that regard. Now, the first and foremost thing you can do, other than knowing your evacuation plans and your evacuation zones and having that preparation already made, is having a generalized emergency plan. Okay, and there's a lot of things that should be included in this. A good example is, are your kids, are they going to be at home? Are they going to be at school? Are they going to be at daycare? Because you're going to have to get them, because you're not going to leave them behind, right? Are you going to have a go bag ready for those kids? All right, now to translate this into something a little bit different but similar, your pets. Okay, what are you doing about the pets if you evacuate? Do you have a go bag for the pets if you have to leave at a moment's notice? Do you have their leashes and collars, clipped on this bag, and there's, say, a few days worth of food in this bag for them and whatever else that pet may need? Because, pets, you may think it's a little simplistic, but all pets are different. Some pets have meds. Maybe their flea medicine is getting ready to be scheduled to be used on them. So you need to take that with you. Maybe you have one of those pets that has really bad anxiety, so they have to wear one of those thunder vests. Maybe that needs to be in that bag ready to go. Maybe your dog isn't good with people or other animals. Maybe you need to have a muzzle in there as well. So there's a lot of little things that could go into a pet's go bag. And again, this is based on your pet. Now, my dogs are kind of just dumb. You just throw them in the car and give them a couple rocks to eat and they'll be fine, because that's how our dogs operate.
Are you looking for something kick-ass to add to your closet? Reaper has the hookup for t-shirts, hoodies, button-ups, hats, beanies, and plenty of other badass products. You can check out Reaper Apparel Company at www.reaperapparelco.com and use code DOOM10 for 10% off. Jester only stands behind brands he believes in, and Dan at Reaper Apparel has a mission, and Jester is on board. Go check out www.reaperapparelco.com today and use code DOOM10 for 10% off your entire order. Why be a sheep when you can reap? Use code DOOM10 for 10% off at www.reaperapparelco.com today.
But your pets might be different. Same goes with, exotic pets, things you can't transport. Let's say you have a bunch of aquariums. What's your plan for that? Because you're not going to put an aquarium in your car and take that with you, but you might have something in place. Maybe you have a little solar generator in place to keep the fish tank running while you're gone. Who knows? Anyway, to continue into this, also having a community plan as well. Who in the community has the generator? Because they might not give you full access to that generator, but you might go down the street and talk to Earl, and Earl might say, hey, hurricane's coming, and I'm going to need some gas for this generator if you all want to hook up power cords to it and stuff like that to be able to charge your phones or whatever. Bring me down 10 gallons of gas. That'll be your contribution to get some power, right? So work out some things with your community in that regard. If you say you have a problematic house in the neighborhood that always floods, maybe you go over, you talk to that neighbor, say, hey, do you need any help preparing for the flood that's coming? We know that your house typically floods when we get bad storms. Do you need any help? Things like that. Get with your community and get organized. Find out who's got the chainsaws in the neighborhood, who's got the power tools in the neighborhood. Maybe see what you would need to do to help them out, so you can barter and trade with them in the event that you need something. Okay. Now, hurricanes are one of these weird things that you can prepare for these things ahead of time. You don't have to be caught with your pants down. We know they're coming. We know how bad they are, and they're not exactly it's not a routine prep, so to speak. All hurricanes are a little bit different. Power might go out with this one. It might not go out with the next one. The water might go out with the next one, but the water might be on for the one after that. You might have no power or water outages at all, but then you might have a tree come down in your front yard that you got to deal with to get your car out to go to work, right? So these are all these storms are, inherently different. None of them are going to have the same effect or outcome. Okay. Now, let's talk about the idea of strengthening your home, hardening your home. Okay, this is something that's very important. We all know that everybody goes ahead and they board up their houses, right? We all know this. We all know that's the proper procedure is board the house up, okay? But things you might not be thinking about are very simple. Cleaning out your drains and your gutters, because these things come with hard rains. And if those gutters are clogged, it's keeping, those gutters are filling up, they're getting heavy. If they fall off, they can then start destroying your home or your car or whatever else. So clean the gutters, clean the drains. If you have outside furniture in different areas or different things outside that are lightweight that will get picked up by the wind and moved around, bring them in, put them in the shed, put them out of the way somewhere, because these things do become destructive when they start flying around. And if you can't bring your car inside a garage, you're not going to go out there and board up the windows on your car, and that, 15-pound lawn chair might end up going through the window, right? So it's just better to bring that stuff inside and get it out of the area. And other little things too. that people just kind of regard, like decorations that may hang on the outside of your home. Take those down, bring them in, right? Any weird lawn ornaments, your stupid ass pink flamingos, pull those out of the ground because those can become a missile in the event of a hurricane. So get those, just get the yard cleaned up, get things picked up. Don't leave anything out there that could become weaponized by the hurricanes. All right. Very simple. You might want to really also consider pulling out every flashlight you have, every cell phone you have, every electronic device that you have, and just pre-charging all of these things, okay? In the event the power goes out, everybody's so used to being connected to different things, right? Like having the TV going, having the cell phones going. Everybody's, used to these things for the most part. If you got some old laptops laying around, I think a lot of us do at this point. We have some old laptops laying around that, it's not really good for surfing the internet anymore. Maybe it's an old one you don't really use. Well, take it, reset it, make sure that battery's charged up on it. Put some movies on there for the kids or maybe some games for the kids. It gives them something to do in the event that the power's out and you have nothing to do, right? Keeps kids occupied, keeps them happy. Same goes with your cell phones. Make sure those are all charged up. If you have an emergency weather radio, make sure that sucker's charged up. If you got one of those hand crank deal ones, whatever, charge it now if it has the option to charge it, To go back to the community thing for a second here, don't forget that you may have neighbors that are elderly, disabled, and would maybe need more help getting prepared. I know we tapped on the community thing a little bit, but just to go back to that, don't forget about the neighbors that have the disabilities, okay? Don't forget also to start getting the supplies that you would need for your home that are outside the ordinary. We all think, water and bread and eggs and milk. We all think of, the incidental things, bottled water, stuff that you're going to need. But then we go off and we forget that, hey, what about your antacid tablets that you may need? What about that ibuprofen you haven't bought yet? What about the allergy meds your kids need to get filled? Things like this is what you want to get stocked up on. Don't forget about the meds. Don't forget about little things like cleaning supplies, disinfectant wipes, hand sanitizer, all that good stuff. Don't forget you're still going to need these things. So if you got a shopping list up there and you're like, yeah, I haven't fulfilled it yet, definitely go and fulfill that, okay? Have propane for the grill. That way, if the power's out for a few days and that meat in your fridge is starting to go bad, you can get that cooked up and you can start eating it. Okay, before it turns. Like if you've got, say, 10 pounds of chicken in the fridge and you're like, well, shit, the power's out now. Now I have no way to cook this. Well, if you have propane for the grill, you can go get that chicken, get that 10 pounds of chicken cooked up. And even if you can't eat it all, feed it to the dog. Maybe bring your neighbor a plate of barbecue chicken, something like that. Like, here, man, want to help you guys out. We had this food. It was going to go bad if we didn't make it. We have extra. Here you go. Someone will be happy with a free meal. All right. And I know we're kind of all over the place with this episode tonight trying to do this hurricane preparedness thing because things are also popping into my mind that I did during the hurricanes as well. So let's talk about the idea of boarding up your home. Boarding up your home is a big pain in the ass. I always envied people that had the emergency hurricane shutters when I lived in the state of Florida. I thought those things were the bee's knees. Because they just go right up, they bolt down, and you're done. They're all pretty much cut to fit from, when they're installed, they're cut to fit. So you just grab the one that fits that window, you put it on, you put the bolts in, you're good to go, right? You're not out there like my dumbass was cutting plywood and hammer drilling the side of the house and putting this stuff up.
Fire is one of the most basic essentials for survival. Whether you're camping, hiking, or preparing for disaster, Blackbeard has your six. Go to www.blackbeardfire.com and utilize code DoomsDay for 10% off your entire purchase. Blackbeard offers stormproof matches, plasma arc lighters, fire starters, and ferro rods, all of which are great for your bug out bag. Once again, go to www.blackbeardfire.com and utilize code DOOMSDAY for 10% off your entire purchase.
But again, get into the boarding up of your house, guys, you want the main point of boarding up your house isn't necessarily to prevent like a giant rock from being thrusted through the side of your house. Like, I mean, plywood's only going to do so much. It's the idea it prevents that glass from breaking with small debris, and then you don't have glass flying around your home. If there's 100-mile-an-hour winds outside, okay, and a 2x4 gets picked up, it's coming through that plywood, all right? But the idea is, even if it comes through the plywood, you're not going to have all this wind and extra debris coming through, sending glass everywhere, okay? That's just what that is. When it comes to protecting yourself within your home, once everything has been boarded up, centermost point of the house, smallest room with, some good load-bearing walls, maybe bathtub, shower, bathtub combo thing, get in that. And it is a really dynamite idea to have whatever padding you have accessible to surround yourself with, whether it be twin-size mattresses, heavy blankets, okay, and anything that could lessen the force of any debris that may be flying around, okay? Even having an air mattress is better than nothing because it's going to stop that blunt force impact of whatever's flying around from hitting you. So having these things in place and having these plans in place, knowing what you're going to do, like that's what we did. We knew that the closet in our master bedroom within our home was the smallest, strongest, most center room in the house. And we also knew that we had a gun safe in there that was pretty stout. So even if the house collapsed around it, if we were close enough to that gun safe, it would support a lot of weight. So we may be trapped in there, but we're not going to be crushed, so to speak. We also had the laundry room on the other side, which had a washer-dryer. And again, washer-dryers are going to support a lot of weight. If the walls came down between the gun safe and everything else in this tiny little room with everything being so condensed, we should be okay. It was also underneath the point of the house that had the highest ceiling in the attic. So even if the whole thing would come down, there is a chance that structure would be supporting weight above us and we wouldn't have too much to worry about. And I'm not an engineer. This was just my thought process. So in there, being that it was a tile floor in that closet, we already had the floor padded ready to go so we could sleep in there, lay down in there. We had things moved out of the way. And we had mattresses to throw up around us in the event that things started getting really, really squirrely. Okay. And I mean, essentially, that is what you do, unless you have an all-out storm shelter, which most people do not, okay? These are the steps that you take. This is what you do, all right? There's tons of information online there's a lot of how-to guides online that you can base your plan off of, all right? And they're all good. I mean, I haven't really come across any bad ones. The emergency planners who write these things up do so in a way to where it's easy for everybody to do and for everybody to understand, and the plans are typically solid and they work, and that's why they're there, okay? Now let's go down some other different roads. First off, emergency services doesn't run, okay? With that, you need to understand if you have somebody that has heart problems or that within your family, make sure you got the nitro, things like that available to them if you'd have to administer it. Don't let that lapse, basically is what I'm saying. Like if you know the nitro's expired and you've been meaning to get more, go get it done because EMS doesn't run in the middle of a hurricane. Okay, it's not a thing. A lot of emergency services do not run, okay? Second point of this is, making sure your insurance policies are paid and up to date, because if you had a lapse in your homeowners, which does happen, it's not impossible, and that house gets destroyed, guess what? You can't go back and insure it the next day and expect a claim. It's not how that works. So make sure your insurance is up to date on these things and paid up, and you don't have any lapse in policy. Same goes with your auto coverage as well. I know there's people out there that will add full coverage insurance before a hurricane comes. They'll make a payment on it just in case, and then they'll go back to a liability-only policy after the storm passes. I've known people to do that. The other thing is things like, identification, important paperwork, stuff like that. You really want to have a nice little to-go folder, maybe in your go bag of, the kids' birth certificates, identifications, things like that, or have the copies of those things ready to go. Because when they do these evacuations, you never know how far out you'll have to go. And having these things with you to prove people's identities, prove what their ages are for different things, just makes sense. Okay, so definitely do that. And this isn't, and for you spouses out there, if you're one of these spouses that doesn't share phone passwords or passwords to things, this might be the time you want to go through and delete the stuff your spouse doesn't know about. So you could share those passwords, because if you guys get separated, if something happens to you, it makes a lot of sense for your spouse or whoever it is to be able to access your stuff, okay? To get messages from loved ones or make phone calls to loved ones and check on people, things like that. You might not talk to your mother-in-law, right? And you might have to get in your husband's phone to make a call to them to make sure everything's okay in the event something happens to your husband. Or if something happens to your husband, you might need to call them. And if you can't get that phone unlocked, to get in there to let them know, hey, Billy was just killed in this hurricane. You're going to have to basically wait for them to call and check in. So, just being able to keep those lines of communication open with people is good. All right. And I know it sucks because some people just have shitty relationships and they might not have that. They might not have that option to unlock everything and, be able to share contact information and stuff like that. But it is important in emergency scenarios to be able to have that open line of communication. And it's something a lot of people don't think about. So just for that. Also, in generalized prepper stuff, if you've got the rainwater collection system, make sure it's functional. Make sure your solar generators are charged up. Go through your canned goods real quick. Make sure nothing is expired. And if it is, replace it quickly. Hurricane season sucks. Okay. I don't know too many people that actually enjoy this. It's just, it's bullshit. Also, it's a really, really good idea to get with your local emergency services people, your storm management people, emergency service management, and find out what their plans are, find out where their community building is, what they have in place. What a lot of people don't know is that a lot of these places offer free sandbags. Okay, they offer free cases of water. Like a lot of these emergency management places offer free shit. And nobody takes the time out of their day to give them a call to see what they have, see what they're offering. And it's a lot of weird random shit that they get. So it could be a case of water, it could be a bag of dog food, it could be some sandbags. They could have maybe 1,000 cans of baked beans, and they're giving out 3 cans of beans to everybody that's coming through. Things like that. So go get with your emergency service management and see what they're offering for free, because I guarantee you they have some things they'll give out. Most places do. If they don't, I'd be pretty shocked. Okay. Trying to think here. Oh, yeah. So this is a good thing, too. Your local town, you may or may not know it, depending on how long you live there. But some of these guys have like online apps that you can download or online emails that you could subscribe to for updates for emergency management stuff. Where I live at, there is an email service where you sign up for these email services, and it'll let you know when severe weather's coming and different things are going on, if there's evacuation orders put in place. Because guess what? If your power gets knocked out and you were relying on the TV to tell you when it was time to leave, you might not have that luxury anymore if the power's out. Okay? So definitely go ahead and see if your local emergency management has an email app or has an app in general that you can download, okay? And definitely take advantage of that. Know if they have like local warning sirens. For tornado-prone areas, a lot of them do. They have the warning sirens. For hurricane areas, it's nothing that I have seen. I'm sure it does exist for certain areas, but find out if they have these. Find out if they're actually working and functioning and tested, things like that, because some places do not test these things. They're just like, yeah, we flick them on if there's something coming. Other than that, we don't test them. Find out if they are testing them, because they're supposed to be.
Want to be a guest on the show? Email it's doomsdaypodcast@gmail.com. That's it's doomsdaypodcast@gmail.com.
Also, a prep that I like to do for the power outage, specifically for the hurricanes, is we go ahead and we would fill up the bathtubs with water. So we have that extra water for bathing or whatever we would need it for, right? So you have your bathtubs filled up with water ahead of time. If you've got the water bobs are very awesome, but it's really easy to fill up the bathtub and get a bucket and scoop out a bucket and take yourself a nice little sponge bath, not mixing the sponge bath water back with the bathtub water. You fill up a 5-gallon bucket from the bathtub, you get that water decently soapy, you scrub yourself down, stand over a towel, and then you go ahead, dump that bucket down the drain, or not down the drain, down the toilet, flush the toilet with it when you need to flush the toilet if the water's out, and then you can go ahead and get another scoop of water out of there and wet a nice rag and wipe yourself down for a good rinse and let that bucket sit there until somebody has to drop a deuce again, so you don't have to worry about shit in your toilet throughout the hurricane, because that also sucks. Taking every bottle you have around the house, 2-liter bottles, water bottles, things like this, throwing them in the freezer, okay? I mean, you could take a whole case of water, throw it in the freezer, freeze it now, and then take those bottles out and put them in the fridge. Not only will you have cold water, but it's going to help keep your fridge temperature lower than it would otherwise. I would freeze juice bottles, 2-liter bottles, any bottles I can get my hands on that I could fill up with water, I would freeze. In the event of a power outage, I would simply move these things around, right? And then there's also the idea too, if you have a cooler handy close by, go ahead, get your bottles frozen now, and then condense these frozen food items down into that cooler with those frozen bottles. They, for whatever reason, okay, and I don't know why this is, but I found I'm able to keep stuff more in that smaller little area in that cooler. If it's a good, decent cooler, I found it's easier to keep the temperature controlled in that versus the freezer. I've noticed the freezer warms up quicker than the cooler does, and I don't know why that is, but it just does. And then the final part here of this episode, guys, people love to steal shit during disasters. They love to break into homes, and if your area is widely evacuated and you're the only one there, guess what? When the power's out, it looks like there's nobody home, okay? So keep those doors locked. If you have an emergency, if you have a battery backup bank for your security system, make sure that sucker's charged up and functional. And then that brings us into the guns and the ammo side. Cock lock, ready to rock, out of reach of children, right? Preferably. So I can't begin to tell you the amount of crimes that take place during these disasters, okay? And you don't want to be a victim to these things, which is why I'm, going through and saying these things. So, just double check. Windows locked, doors locked, cars are locked. If you've got valuables in your vehicle, take them out, bring them into your home, okay? People love to smash and grab during these storms because here's the reality. Say all the windows are busted out of your car the next day after the storm. You don't know if it was the storm or someone going through and smashing and grabbing stuff. Like, you don't know, okay? Windows just get broke sometimes. So you do have thieves that take advantage of this, and they will go through and look for these vehicles to be unlocked. They'll pop doors. They'll break windows if they see something they want inside. So don't be a victim to these crimes. Go ahead, take the proper steps now, and just, get all the valuables that you're worried about out of the vehicle, right? Make sure the vehicle's doors are locked, okay? And that's all you really got to do, Insurance will cover your car if it gets damaged, but what it's not going to cover is the valuables that you may keep in there, okay? So definitely be aware of that. Definitely take those things out of there. Don't leave your firearms in your vehicle during these storms because that's a big pain in the ass when a firearm gets stolen, reporting that to the police, and not something you can claim on insurance, things like that. It's a big pain in the ass. So get the guns out of there in the event of a storm as well. I know a lot of us out there keep a pistol in our vehicles all the time. It never leaves. That's our car gun, so to speak, so it doesn't come out of there. But in the event of these storms, it absolutely freaking should. Okay? The last and final part of this is the electric side of this, the generator side of this. Number one, Do not run your generators indoors. I still can't believe we have to say this, but don't do that. If you're worried about your generator getting stolen, buy a chain, buy a lock the fucker up. Don't bring it in the garage. Don't bring it inside. Those fumes can move through the house, and then the next thing you know, you're dying from carbon monoxide poisoning, and that sucks. Okay? So keep them outside, locked up. Second thing is make sure you kill the main breaker to your house. People are out there working on those lines, and you could send electric to utility workers and shock the shit out of them or end their lives because you didn't shut that main off. Also, you could have other people around the neighborhood doing goofy shit as far as their power goes, and if both of you leave your mains on, it could create complications and problems or fires or whatever. So make sure that main is off when you have these generators going. Also, kids like to mess with stuff. Make sure you have the proper generator plugs. I know we all get in these weird circumstances where like, well, you know, I could just screw this outlet thing into the light bulb socket and I could just stick a couple wires up there. Well, your kids run through, they accidentally pull those out, they grab the end of them, they are getting lit up. Okay, so if you have the time to install the proper generator hookups, absolutely do it. If it's something you're incapable of doing, get a professional out there to do it. Do not undertake electrical work on your own if you do not have the required experience. I think that's about it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of It's Doomsday Podcast today. We will see you guys on the next episode next Monday. I apologize we didn't get an episode out last week to you guys. Things got crazy with work. I've got way too much on my plate right now, but we will be back next week with a brand new episode. Have a great day, everybody.
This is an emergency action message. At approximately 1 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, NORAD is tracking 15 ICBM nuclear missiles inbound to the following cities: Orlando, Miami, Pittsburgh, Dover, Newark, Richland, Philadelphia, New York City, Baltimore, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Boston, Seattle, Detroit. This is an extremely deadly situation. Stay tuned. The next emergency message will be a presidential address.